Welcome to the final episode of the Mol België Season 12 recaps from Reality TV Warriors. My name is Michael Armstrong, and joining me as always is the Canadian who has a terrible habit of being pulled off early, Logan Saunders.
Good afternoon or good morning. Pardon me. Good morning.
Yeah, I meant to pull you up on this last week. You did still say good afternoon, even though it was very much evening for you last week. I spotted that. I think that might have just been the tiredness.
Yeah.
Saunders and I were talking, Monday now? This is Wednesday morning we're recording this. We were talking on Monday about how last weekend just completely fucked us.
Yeah.
I was so tired. I don't want to moan too much, obviously, because it's my own fault with the scheduling of flying in and flying out, but Jesus, I was tired until about Thursday last week.
Yeah, and just I don't know if it's just me getting 32 isn't old, but I don't know, it just it hits a little bit harder now. I checked out way later than you out of the hotel. Not too late to where you incurred any fees. But I got to, because I went from Antwerp to Brussels and then I flew into Nice. And when I got to my Airbnb in Nice, I think I was planning to just have a nap and then explore. But then I completely fell asleep at about 7:30 or 8 o'clock. And next thing I know, it was about 7 o'clock in the morning when I woke up.
Yeah, I saw my family at the weekend as I always do, and Mum's like, "You really should have done that for much longer." And I'm like, "Yeah, if it was affordable to drive, I would have done, and it would have solved all of the problems of me being tired. It was fine. I was just, I just very much shouldn't have done such an early flight on the way back, crawling around a hotel room at 5:30 in the morning, trying not to wake a Canadian up."
And I woke up anyway.
Well, you did, but only on the third time that I was accidentally noisy.
Yeah, you only get away with it so much.
Yeah. Anyway, talking of you traveling, where in the world is Logan Saunders?
I am in San Giorgio Morgetto, a village in Calabria in Italy. I'm actually really close to Sicily. Sicily's probably only 20, 30, 40, 50 kilometers away from me.
Well, you could swim the Strait of Messina. It's fine.
Yeah, just take a train to the edge there and then, just go for a swim across.
It is, correct me if I'm wrong, the place where your ancestors fled to from Sicily when they were escaping the mafia. Uh, and you cannot possibly know how long I've been waiting for you to finally be in Italy for me to do that joke.
Yeah, that's what happened. Yeah, so I've been this is the longest stop on this Europe trip. I'm here for 8 days. I think this is my sixth day here. Yeah, I just have today, tomorrow, and then I check out on whatever day the 24th is. So I'm almost at the end of my stay here. But yeah, I have cousins here. I visited them previously 7 years ago, and then my mom came here the year after that to visit them. So yeah, first time back in 7 years. The lot of changes, not for the village itself, but with the family where they had three kids at home. Two of them are grown up, so they only have one kid at home now. Yeah, I watched I watched the kid play a soccer game a couple days ago in the village. They have one soccer field, and the referee looked just like John O'Hurley. It was the funniest thing ever. And then I show because none of them watched Seinfeld, so I said, "Oh, your referee looks like a famous American actor." And then they showed them the picture of John O'Hurley, and he just absolutely lost it. So John O'Hurley retired from acting and then now works as a soccer referee in southern Italy.
Is that cousins as in actual cousins, or cousins as in the familia?
Actual cousins, yes, blood relatives.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that you still weren't being chased by the mafia.
Yeah. Jesus.
I also realised in my tiredness last week there are still some stories from my travels that I don't think I told you that we still hadn't got to. Part of which was Gilles, because Gilles did send me an email answering the question that we left cliffhangered, and I completely forgot to mention it until Bindles messaged me the morning after we recorded and went, "You didn't mention Gilles," and I'm like, fucking hell.
So who's going to go first? Because I also have some extra stuff to share
Oh,
from
good.
the finale.
I'll rattle through mine.
Okay.
So starting with flying from Manchester Airport, I went to a place called Amber Ale House, which was very nice. We went there before we went to the Caribbean in December. It's one of those places that you were sort of enamored by a few years ago, where you can order on your phone and they deliver things to your table.
Oh yeah, one of those.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the same brand. Logan got obsessed with Weatherspoons when we were in London a couple of years ago, but
Well, we didn't have that in Canada. It's a novelty.
you scan the QR code and they bring stuff to your table. And I did my usual breakfast order when I'm traveling of a sausage sandwich and a pint of Coke at like 8 o'clock in the morning. They brought the Coke over and that was fine. And they said, you'll get your sausage sandwich within about 10 minutes. And it got to 15 minutes and the table behind me had arrived after I did and they'd got their food by that point. So I went up to the bar and went, I'm still waiting for my sausage sandwich. And they said, oh, I'll go check with the kitchen. And they went in and came back a couple of minutes later and it's like, oh, it got delivered a few minutes ago. And I'm like, not to me, it didn't. And they'd ended up giving away my breakfast. So they ended up having to bring me another one. And the other one off the back of my complaints about Brussels Airlines being really cheap and trying to charge me £12 is the fact that I did my usual thing of tweeting them. And I got loads of replies, just not from them, because for some reason, if you tweet Brussels Airlines with some sort of complaint, you get so many spam bots replying, pretending to be Brussels Airlines customer service agents. Like a ridiculous amount of them. It must have been about 8 or 9 different
Oh, that
spam
is a
accounts
lot.
replied. Yeah, it's quite hilarious. Because, I mean, the first one was fairly convincing. It's like, oh, sorry, can we have a contact number? And then they just kept coming through and kept coming through and kept coming through for a good like day or two after I even flew with Brussels Airlines the first time this year.
Jeez.
Yeah. And the final thing that I have to say before Saunders surprises me with something, and I love surprises, is during the interview episode, we did obviously ask Gilles what the plan B was for the hand signal challenge. And I emailed him on Tuesday morning just being like, thanks for inviting us again. Did you remember what it was? And he got back to me pretty quickly, and then I completely forgot to put in my notes for last week. So he said, if they hadn't found the correct gesture, the doctor, being stubborn like all good Italians, would have insisted upon putting a giant cast on the arm, obviously and for no good reason at all, up until over their elbow, which he then would have written the criminal's height on. Said cast would have had to be worn until right before the execution the day after, which would have made the Omerta swimming very funny. I mean, it's not like we're making this up. In Centurupe, there's a law prohibiting writing anyone's height on anything else other than a plaster cast. So now we know.
Jeez.
We speculated at the time it probably would be a cast, but I think I went for the more jokey answer of a prostate exam.
Close.
Yeah, close but no cigar.
And we didn't get enough time with the final three, I would say. We didn't get enough time to interview the final three, and I feel like we weren't super prepared for all of the questions with the final three. We didn't get to interview Mikhail, and then Senna, our interview, we kept it short. So I reached out to the final three.
I had a feeling you might have done.
Yeah, and I had one question for them that everybody wanted to know. So I can't remember if we did this game during the Greece season, but I asked them to play a little game, and it's called Ding, Marry, Gilles.
Oh no, we didn't do this during Greece.
So instead of Ding, Marry, Kill, it's Ding, Marry, Gilles, and the three Gilles, Papa Bear, Gilles da Costa, Gilles Van Boel, and Gilles de Sol, the first boot from the Greece season. And the entire final three replied quite quickly with their answers to this.
I honestly can't believe we didn't do this during Greece because this has us written all over it.
I thought of this when I was at Five Guys in Antwerp on the way to the train station because I was thinking, Five Guys, Senna, Mikhail. Does Five Guys refer to Senna, Mikhail, Bernard, DaCosta, and Van Boel? And then my mind went to Ding, Marry, Gilles. So I got the responses back for all three. Senna's response, Ding Van Boel, because he's partied with him, and Van Boel can get wild. Marry Papa Bear, and kill de Sol, just because he hasn't met him personally. So that was Senna's response. Mikhail's says, Ding de Sol, marry Papa Bear, and kill Van Boel.
What's he got against Van Boel?
I don't know, but Bernard responded, and he said, kill Van Boel. Mary DaCosta, and Ding DeSalle.
So that's the same as Michael's then, wasn't it?
Yes, and it's very interesting that the two candidates wanted to kill the mole, and the mole wanted to ding the mole. That's what I gleaned from that.
Moles stick together.
Moles really stick together, figuratively and literally.
I do think Ding Mary Gilles may have to come back at the interviews next year.
So yeah, I thought of it. I thought this is a fun question that they can just answer quickly through DMs.
Yeah, I mean, you have had a little communication with Mikhail anyway that you'd declared to me before this episode.
Yeah.
He was still amused by the concept of Papa Bear, I seem to remember.
Yes. So yeah, so there we go. Mikhail was asked a question by us. We did get to interview him.
Technically, we can tick that off the list now.
Yeah, and I believe after that DM is when Mikhail followed me. I think that question really was very different from what they were asked on the press day during the finale.
Yeah, can you imagine if we'd actually asked that at the press day? It would have been like all serious questions, and then you just see us, and it's like, yeah, sorry, this is in English. Also, which of the Gilles do you want to fuck?
This, yeah, and then the staff's like, why the hell does DaCosta let these guys be in the press screening every year?
I mean, we didn't even mention what my response to Michael was when he said, "What the hell are you doing here?" And the answer is my stock answer of, "We ask ourselves that every year."
Yeah, I just love that bewilderment by everybody who doesn't know who we are. They're like, what?
That's the thing. Like this year, I didn't really get a sense that people had been warned that there were English speakers in the room necessarily. I'm sure they were, but like in previous years, you'd always speak to someone and they'd go, "Oh yeah, I heard there was English speakers in the room. We were warned about you." I don't get the sense that they were really that warned about us this year.
Yeah, I can't remember if it might have been the final three talk when they were just talking in the corner amongst themselves, where I could have sworn I heard them reference the countries where we were from in their conversation. Like, what? There's people from here in the press room?
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Or it was either that or the actual, I can't remember if it was them or the actual other Belgian press that was there. But yeah, it's funny because the press room, for people who haven't been in there, it's not many tables. There's not many people in the press room. There is about 9 tables.
Yeah, between 9 and 12, I think.
Yeah, it's not, and it's just it's just one or two people per table.
Yeah. I mean, I say this every year. We're so thankful we get to go. It's one of the most fun weekends of the year for us. It just ends up being quite baffling for everyone involved, I think.
Yeah, and I think most or all of them just love that idea of like, what? We just bring these people in because they're just, yeah, because I think it's more of just that, especially for Jill DaCosta to have, just to bring us in there to somewhat surprise the extended media of why, what, we didn't know this existed.
Yeah, we are the wild cards in the press room, I would say. No one
Yeah,
else is going to ask a Ding Mary Gilles question.
yeah.
No one else is going to ask Gilles some of the things that we ask him, like, can you bleat?
Philippe didn't bleat during the reunion.
I swear in the preview that we did see in the cinema screening, there was a scene of Philippe revealing a tattoo that we never saw in the reunion.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I wonder if it was just cut for time, but yeah, I swear there was in that preview because obviously in the press screening and in the actual broadcast episode, I don't think there was a preview for the reunion, but there was at the cinema screening. Because that then led on to me asking Senna, "So your mum still doesn't know," and him lying to my face.
That's right, because they all watched on their laptops together. And the funny thing is that his mom already knew that she figured it out the second he picked the trip.
Do you think your mum would be able to pick you as the mole like she did?
No, I don't think so. Senna's mom seems very in tune with the game and the overall strategy. I think she was thinking, how would the mole play this? And then Senna played it exactly as she expected the mole would.
I think it would be an absolute victory if I snuck it past my mum, but I don't think I would be able to. I think she would end up having to become an accomplice because my mum has a very good read on people. She has a very good bullshit radar. So, final bits of preamble. Obviously, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the return of the greatest franchise of them all that was announced last Thursday. Sadly, we can't do that because instead we have to talk about NetMol 2. We had such hope that it would get cancelled, and sadly, it has not.
Yeah, because there's going to be some really bizarre twists this year, from what I understand.
Yeah, there is a rumor that the mole is going to compete against the winner for the pot, which is obviously stupid and ludicrous and should never be a thing in the mole. We know one challenge that they've borrowed potentially from België, which is the whole pirate theme challenge from Canary Islands. Apparently, there's a pirate themed episode, which suggests that that's going to get copied. In the filming timeline, the last season to have aired would have been Arizona, but I suspect in the production timeline, the last season to have aired would have been Canary Islands. So I'm expecting a lot of overlap with Canary Islands this time.
It makes sense if that's the one challenge everyone knows that they borrowed from it.
Well, nobody knows for certain, but there's a heavy implication that it's going to be that pirate challenge. Obviously, we won't be covering it. Obviously, I probably won't even be watching it because, I have better things to do. Like poke myself in the eye with rusty skewers. On the subject of better television, though, Taskmaster Australia 2 starts the day that this episode comes out on Thursday. Very excited for it because the first season was an absolute delight. And my TV recommendation is the currently airing, although the day that this comes out will be the day of the finale, The Fortune Hotel on ITV in the UK. It started off a little bit slow and nice, and by the end of last week, it got absolutely vicious. And it's delightful television. Basically, the premise is 10 pairs in a hotel in Grenada. Each of them has a briefcase, one of which contains £250,000, one of which contains an early checkout card, and 8 of them are empty. Whoever has the early checkout card at the end of the day goes home. There are 2 opportunities in each episode for them to swap cases with each other. Whoever has the money at the end of the episode picks where the next early checkout card appears.
Interesting concept.
Yes, it's a very interesting concept, but also after the first couple of episodes when nobody was swapping enough, they added in a rule that whoever has the money at the end of the day not just gets to pick where the early checkout card appears, but also they get to take 10 grand out of the prize money and keep it for themselves.
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
Which then makes it significantly more vicious. We're recording this Wednesday morning. I haven't seen this week's episodes yet. There have been 2 that have aired this week. I suspect, knowing what happened at the end of episode 4, that it's going to be quite vicious this week, and I'm very much looking forward to watching it. But yeah, it's one of those shows that is far better than it probably has any right to be. I wasn't sure when I watched episode 1 whether I'd continue, and I'm very glad I did, because it's bonkers.
And WIDM, the civilian WIDM got officially announced too, right?
Yeah, we did talk about that last week, though.
Oh, we did? Okay.
Yeah, that was last Tuesday, I think, when we recorded last Tuesday. Yeah, WIDM Oman starts the same day as NetMol, which is June 26th. I believe it is 2 episodes released every Friday for 4 weeks.
Weird they would do it that way.
Yeah, they are apparently trying to maybe slightly emulate the Netflix model there. We won't be covering it on the podcast, as I said last week, just because it's a bit too difficult. But if it's good, maybe it'll be Historians eventually.
Yeah, I was thinking the historians wouldn't be a bad idea, even if it's not super long after it airs.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll obviously have that discussion, but it isn't the Historians that we're going to be announcing maybe in this episode.
And then a bunch of Amazing Race seasons are filming right now. There's like 1,000,000 of them filming.
Yeah, Amazing Race Australia 8's in, well, last I heard it was in South Africa, which was a surprise.
Yeah, that got there. It sounds like they're doing one country per continent.
Interesting. And Amazing Race Canada has finished filming now?
Yep, it finished. Yep. Looks like it's 10, just 10 legs again, and entirely within Canada. None of the territories PEI or Newfoundland. They did get an extra couple provinces in this time, and this is by far the most amount of just tiny remote. I think it even beats out Amazing Race Australia 5 for just these middle of nowhere towns being included. In fact, they're not even towns, it's like townships instead, which are just like 500 people or so that they're doing. I think three of the tasks are in townships, and like three separate townships are being used.
Wow. And Amazing Race 37 started in Hong Kong, or first destination was Hong Kong.
Yep, and second destination got confirmed.
I don't know what it is. What is it?
Osaka.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
I did genuinely see on the Amazing Race subreddit, under the post of 37 started filming, a post that was titled, "When will 38 film?" It's like, jeez Louise.
37 folks. They have to film 37 first. I don't Their mind is not even on 38.
Yeah.
37 isn't even going to air until spring. I would say they probably don't even film 38 until after 37 airs.
There is a chance that 37 could still air in autumn if and when the summit fails, which it will.
Yeah, but they sounds like they'll let it go the whole. I mean, they officially announced it's mid-season replacement. Usually they're a bit more vague with Amazing Race. They were not vague this time.
And final bit of preamble is obviously bingo. Thank you to Fuzzy for both seasons of bingo cards that have been hilarious. I think it's worth pointing out that there is still one card that is ambiguous as to whether she got bingo or not. The official score is 11-7 at the moment. But the WIDM Reunion card, she was a bit cheeky in one of the corner squares. She put Historian's Clue, and that was question marked by Bindles until this episode, obviously. And it gets her a bingo if she gets it. And I can confirm she did get bingo. There was at least one clue in the reunion episode. What that clue was, we're not going to tell you just yet. But that does officially make it 11-8. She has also already sent the bingo card for this week because she's filled it with what she considers historians' clues. And I'm very deliberately saying what she considers historians' clues. Because whether they're right or not, we're not going to tell you yet. But yes, she sent an entire board of what she thinks the clues were for historians this year. Find out at the end
Awesome.
of the episode whether she's going to go 11-9 or whether it's 12-8 to end the live seasons this year. So, to begin the reunion, we flash back to a week ago, and the final three are getting ready to head to the reunion, but not before their mothers critique their outfits. Senna's mum says his shirt isn't ironed enough, and his dad's watched every episode 5 times, and they think that he's the mole. And she nearly burns his shirt by being distracted talking to him. And Mikhail's mum, having not seen the show, tells him to try and keep some dignity. The reunion is at St. Jansberg Monastery, east of Brussels.
Maybe I'll go there next year.
It's a Belgian monastery. There's a fair chance that there will be beer involved, Saunders.
Yeah.
Having done a quick Google on it yesterday, it looks like it's an event space now, basically, in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, I see.
And Gillian is the first to arrive. He has to duck to get in the door because he's very tall. And Coco is greeted with Yoda, otherwise known as "oh shit" in Dutch.
I didn't know that was how you say it.
I didn't know that's what Yoda meant. The final three all head in together, and Bernard trips on the way in, which we didn't mention, but I think Mikhail did that in Kinevolis, didn't he?
Yes, he definitely. Yeah, Mikhail definitely tripped. He did that in the movie theater.
Yeah, he was on the way down the stairs to sit in his seat. No, he's on his way down the stairs to greet people, I think, in
Yeah,
the
the alumni.
alumni
He was in the
section.
alumni area. Yep.
And then, he trips on the way down. And then when Bernard did it on the way into the reunion, we all laughed because we knew what he'd done. Charlotte thinks that it's Senna. Gillian said it could be any of them, understanding how this show works. Caroline thinks it's Mikhail. Stephanie's between Senna and Mikhail. Philippe's certain it's Senna. Coco excluded Senna because he was too cute, but that's ultimately the problem in her love life. She thinks too cute, but it's a red flag. And Lynn thinks it's Bernard, explaining why she went home so early.
I was thinking the people who went home early for a reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, what was that? Gillian?
Gillian doesn't give an answer. Then Caroline thinks it's Mikhail. Philippe's certain it's Senna. Coco excluded Senna, but doesn't actually tell us who she thought it was. The implication is she thinks it's Senna now, and Lynn thinks it's Bernard.
I was saying Gillian couldn't even come up with a name. He just says, "I have no clue," which I'm thinking that about sums up his whole mole experience. That's why he was first out.
It's refreshing honesty, at least. He's just like, yeah, I'm not going to shame myself by guessing. I have no clue. Gilles then says that this monastery is the perfect place to hold the reunion, as in a monastery in Sicily 6 months ago, one of them was unveiled as the mole. They then watch the reveal, and Bernard gets swamped as is traditional, and he says that his wife doesn't know she can do her facade yet.
One thing that occurred to me is that you never really hear leaks and spoilers for Belgian Mole. And I think it's because it's only the final three who get to find out, and also because of the extensive screening process for casting as well. That only the final three get to find out all of the identities, and I think that's why they're all able to keep it a secret right until that reveal at the reunion.
And also, it's something we talk about with the mole a lot, but the mole's motivation, listen up, American fans, the mole's motivation is to do a good job and be known as the best mole ever. And Senna does touch upon this in the ending bit of this reunion when he says that he just didn't want to be the mole who'd given away the most amount of money. But I think that also extends to the contestants. They don't want to be the person who spoils the enjoyment of the season for everyone else. They don't want to be the person who ruins the show. So there's an honor amongst thieves more than anything.
Yeah, I think that's an extra layer to it too. That's a really good point.
So as much as we talk about it with the mole going, the mole just wants to do a good job, be known as one of the best ever, be one of the sneakiest ever. I think that also extends to the contestants of just don't fuck this up for everyone else. The title quote as well, which I did skip over, was "Idiot, what are you doing?" said by Senna.
I think that's what the original Belgian mole host said to us when he approached us at the finale screening.
Idiots, what the bloody hell are you doing here? Senna's then revealed as Mole, and Caroline's face is a picture. And Mikhail says he really is a bungler, the klutz of the group. I mean, this reunion's a really good one for Coco, especially. She has some very funny lines in this. Starting off with the whole "he's too cute, must be a red flag" thing. But there is also an argument that this is a really good reunion for Caroline with that reaction, and Mikhail just for being a lovely, massively inept human being.
Yeah. I like when he watches the reveal with his mother and he says, "Yep, I'm the loser."
Yeah, he says loser rather than Valisa, which I thought
Yeah,
was interesting. Senna then sits down with everyone to reveal the sabotages. A few weeks before departure, he was surprised by meeting Gilles and asked to become the mole, and he doesn't even hesitate to say yes. I mean, you wouldn't in that situation, would you? Let's be honest.
yeah. No, no, don't want to do it. Put me in a boat by myself.
Like if you were sat in that room with Gilles going, right, do you want to be the mole? You wouldn't go, yeah, you're all right, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm perfectly fine with not being the mole. It's like, no, I want to be the star of the show. I want to be guaranteed to be the end, and I want to back up your trust in me. He says the doubler has caused extra stress because it's the last thing he wants as the mole. He deliberately grabbed a doubler on the boat to earn trust and publicly acknowledged it, which annoyingly, I did say when he did it. I'm like, yeah, it's likely the mole did that.
yeah. Because it's not been no money's been earned. It's not like you can cash it in right away.
For me, this is genuinely one of the most frustrating reunions that we've ever had to sit through because a lot of this stuff was stuff that I said at the time and just completely forgot about because I was blinded by the M&M clue. It's so frustrating.
Especially when we were talking about 1998 extensively.
Yeah, I should have made the connection that that was the first mole season. So not knowing when the doublers would be played added extra stress as he needed to sabotage more if they were played. Knowing the first one was probably going to be played at the prison meant he needed to be in a place to delay them as much as possible, and he came down last and was sent away immediately. Obviously, he didn't press the fan button much, and he also didn't give them many hints as to who had gone to prison, and Philippe and Caroline actually got to him with 4 minutes left. He also, another thing that I predicted, dawdled with Pandora's box when Mikhail wasn't looking.
Yeah, it's so obvious when you see all of the footage play out, where he's just walking around casually.
Well, I think what I said at the time was that the mole probably just didn't do much if they opened Pandora's box. This is the frustrating thing about Mikhail and Senna being paired so much of this season is I would have probably survived to the end and been wrong because Mikhail was always paired with Senna, and you were always able to gain points just by going for Mikhail still.
And I think when Pandora's box was opened, somehow Lynn got blamed for it, because that's what it felt like in this reunion. There were so many of the early boots were on Lynn, or even the later boots were on Lynn too. As soon as Lynn went home, then almost all eyes were on Senna.
I'd forgotten how awful they were to Lynn at times at the start of this season. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I'm just surprised how many people just kept suspecting her, and no one really catches on to Senna until after Lynn goes home. And we ruled out Lynn right from the first episode.
Oh yeah, by like episode 2, I was pretty convinced it was either Senna or Mikhail. I was pretty convinced the mole was on my team at that point. Because lest we forget, Senna was my number one suspect for the first 3 weeks, and then
Yeah.
number 2 for the remaining one. Gilles reveals that Senna's name was in the box twice, as the only name you can make from the clues in the first bit of the sentence is Senna's. This was also pointed out at the time. People did figure that clue out, and I'd completely forgot about it. Lynn didn't use a doubler, so he suspected it'd be used in the arpes, and Gilles did indicate, as we guessed at the time, by pointing with 2 fingers. All he had to do was direct them to the wrong arpe. When he got the doublers, he accidentally forgot them for the Mom Spaghetti challenge, so he could use them in the Poggio Reale challenge instead. We see him reveal to his mum that she's coming with him. He obviously practiced building the towers beforehand and easily made it to the final round. Before he left, he had chats with his mother about always picking past Froggen over Istellingen if he got the chance, and there is even hidden camera footage of that happening.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, she obviously would have had to give permission for that to get used, but that's so nasty.
She was like the 11th contestant this season.
Yeah, there's something really mean about doing hidden camera footage of your mother.
Yeah, what's with Senna and mothers?
And she actually came to Sicily having done prep work and brought her own mole book to write down things about the other mothers. And he felt so bad having to dupe his mum.
Yeah, but then she caught on that he was the mole instantaneously.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're the mole.
He felt it might be excessive to pass the doubler off to the person who he thought would get eliminated, and they played it straight and didn't tell him it'd be Lynn, but he did guess correctly. And he says it was a badge of honor to neutralize all 4 doublers.
We talked a little bit about this with Jill, but it's interesting that this is a time where they took a stand and said, nope, the mole is on their own for this sabotage.
Yeah, because it's one of the few rules that has actually been stuck to in every season is the mole will never be told who goes out. So it's great that he managed to guess it. I think basically he used the hacking chats to work out who it was probably going to be if he got the doublers. Just everything fell into place for him.
Yeah.
But there was a bit of an accusation at the time that maybe production tipped him off just to get, let's be honest, probably their desired ending for the doublers of someone going home with them in the pocket. But production didn't tip them off. They have enough integrity to not do that.
And what was with Coco and Mikhail being on each other for so long?
This is the thing. Coco did the same clue that we basically did. She got to it in a different way, in that it's all about doublers, double game. He's the only one with double initials. But she had the same suspicion that we did basically there.
Yeah.
So annoying. So he kept slipping at the olives, stopping them being collected. He also spread his olives only amongst the wrong barrels. And when Caroline was certain on the lockdown party, he threw the olives over the sides of the barrels.
It's so funny to see. It's like if you were just paying, if you were there, if you were that third or fourth, that third person there getting the olives, and then you don't notice Senna doing that. Oh,
That was actually in the footage as well in episode 1. You could see him doing that. It's just, if you don't know what you're looking for, you don't necessarily spot that he's throwing them over the sides.
it reminds me of that basketball and bear commercial where where they say, I don't know if you've seen this commercial, Michael. So this was when I was in high school, where the commercial was popular on TV for a bit. Then they used it as examples in high school and university for psychology, where it says, okay, here's a basketball, here's a basketball team. Count how many times the basketball gets passed during the commercial. So you watch the basketball being passed around, I don't know, 15 or 20 times during the commercial. And then at the end, they say, oh, did you notice the bear walking around? And then if you rewatch the commercial, there is a bear just walking all around amongst them while they're throwing around this basketball. It's that similar psychological tactic where everyone's probably just really focused on something else and they don't notice the sabotage that's happening right in front of their faces.
And the correct colours were also a clue, as they are the colours of the flag of his hometown, Westerlo. Gilles briefed him on who would be a maybe for the doublers. He said the 2nd, 6th, and 9th clockwise. He tried to get rid of as many wrong people as possible. In the car puzzle, he was told that if they made 3 mistakes, it'd be close enough to them failing, and 4 would be almost impossible to win with. And they got 4 wrong, either with Senna making a mistake, or with him going along with the mistakes. In Centuripe, he knew where the bags would be dropped, head, shoulders, knees, and toes, had to avoid Coco and Bernard going to the right place. However, he had to be more subtle as he just opened Pandora's box, so had suspicion on him. The challenge ended with the music from The Usual Suspects, and Senna was posed like Kevin Spacey was on the poster. Kevin Spacey, of course, playing the character who ended up being a duper.
It's interesting with with the ringtones there that's what made Bernard catch on to Senna as the mole.
Yeah. I was rather annoyed at The Usual Suspects clue, I'll be honest, because we are always on this show very vigilant when it comes to movie themes. We know they love to use a movie theme as a clue. I mean, last season was basically full of them. So I'm annoyed they managed to sneak a movie theme one past us again.
I like how it's the second Mole season that's had a Kevin Spacey Usual Suspects reference, because that was in Celebrity Mole Hawaii as well. Stephen Baldwin blew the answer.
I watched that yesterday and I'm just like, oh, for God's sake, how did we not spot that? In the Omerta challenge, he used the Flemish sign language for mole. Again, that's the sort of thing we're usually quite hyper vigilant for. In the Plumber Who Likes to Drive challenge, he wanted to drive really fast, as he used to go go-karting with his dad and brother, and he wanted to careen off the track at the end. However, Michael did the sabotage for him and pulled him off a lap too early. In Castelmola, as we already know, he had pineapple prepared. He practiced with the pizza paddle in Belgium, and the pineapple was hidden in a toilet. It leaked through his trousers, so he had to spill a drink all over himself to cover for it. And he missed his first throw, so had to do a second one.
That's funny that he had to improvise. Like, oh wait, there's pineapple juice soaking through my clothes. How am I going to cover for this?
Yeah, I have some mysterious stains.
Yeah.
Bernard then describes him as the most fearless mole ever. He remains so authentic to his own character. And I think that's actually an underrated trait of moles generally, is the best moles remain completely authentic to who they are.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of the screening process.
Yeah. The authenticity cannot be underestimated when it comes to moles, because your friends and family will know. And people who, especially if you're big in the online communities, as at least one person on NetMol is, if they end up being the mole, people are going to know it very quickly because they'll be acting inauthentically to what people have seen of them before.
Yeah, the mole who was the mole in NetMol 1 was very obvious for that very reason.
Yeah. And I know I've seen the leaked cast for NetMol 2. There is a bit more age diversity. There's someone who's at least over the age of 40 this time. But there's 2 people in there, I think, who could potentially fall foul of that rule if they are the mole. In that there's one person who did sequester Audrey Middleton's game.
Yep.
So people have seen him. And there's one person who I think was involved in the Netflix documentary Don't Fuck with Cats. So people have seen her before as well.
Interesting.
In the hacking challenge, it was very obvious Coco was nervous, so he tried to move the suspicion to Mikael, but Coco messed up so much that he had to go with the majority.
Yeah. That's one of those times where it's like, there was nothing he could do there.
Yeah, cut your losses. It's only €1,000.
He's already sabotaged so much at that point.
Yeah. In Suggester, he wanted to be second on the pillars so he could control when it failed, but Mikael pushed for him to go first because Mikael suspected him at that point. However, he didn't take the chalk and banked on Mikhail not seeing it either, meaning he took over the handles with sweat all over them.
That's a brilliant one. And again, they're in a pair. They were in a pair.
Yeah. I think I probably would have got Senna if he wasn't paired with Mikhail so fucking much. It's so frustrating watching this reunion back being like, this is the closest I've ever been to going to a Belgian Mol finale and being correct. Because I was this close to being right. I spotted all of the right things, it's just Mikhail was paired with him too much. When he was in the coffin, he had a note saying, please leave without saying anything in Italian, which I did think was actually quite suspicious at the time that we didn't really see Senna's window that much.
Yeah, we saw a lot more of Steph. We were too distracted by Stephanie's JFK quote unquote knowledge, or the Beetle, or the member. He looks like Harry Potter.
They were so screwed at the potential of earning any money in that challenge with Stephanie not knowing who people are and, Senna being there as well.
Yeah, so it's like I'm definitely. It does even if I help, we'll still lose this one.
In the paintball challenge, he didn't hit a single person and wasted his paintballs. And as we've already said, 1998 was the birth year of the Mole, not Senna, but the television program. In Palermo, Bernard thought he saw Senna do some bonus steps, which would be mole behavior. He did do bonus steps in the cathedral without Bernard watching, though, and he says it's never a good idea to leave the mole alone.
Nope, especially in the prisoners challenge.
It isn't, but I think that may have been the challenge that won Bernard the game, because he was blatantly testing Senna there. He said to Senna, oh, you go down, knowing that Senna was probably going to screw up, and he knew roughly what the figure should have been. And when the figure was much lower than it should have been, he's like, yeah, 100% that's Senna then.
Yeah.
In the 24-hour challenge, he genuinely didn't know what he was going to do or what anyone else was doing, just whether people were telling the truth or not. And he used reverse psychology as no one else thought Mikhail was telling the truth. Such a good sabotage.
Yeah.
In the Spot the Difference challenge, he memorized the right answers and numbered them 1 to 30. However, both Mikhail and Bernard, suspecting him at the time, stopped him being able to sabotage. And as a result, the only time they lost money was on his round.
Yeah.
And in the heist, he wanted to make sure his money wouldn't come in. It was always going to fail. And with that, he personally cost them about 24,000 euros, almost a quarter of the money they could have won.
Yeah, very satisfying mole.
Yeah, definitely. The final three swear their mothers to a vow of omerta and show them the finale. And I do have to say, how many times did they watch the finale? Because I watched it 3 times, and that felt like a lot.
Yeah, I just watched it the twice, and I feel like I know almost every detail there.
Yeah, I joked about this with Bindles before we recorded last week, but I think I said that you and I could probably recite the finale from memory anyway.
So they would have seen it they would have seen it with their mothers. They would have seen it at the actual reunion itself. They would have seen it at the press screening. Or no, they weren't in the room with us at the press screening.
No, they came out from behind the curtain pretty much as soon as the episode ended.
Yeah, so they didn't get to. They were spared from that viewing. So and then they saw it in the theater. So that's the third time, and then presumably with friends and family when it aired.
Well, it aired at the same time.
It aired at the same time. Never mind.
They saw it as much as we did, basically.
Yeah.
Kathy's very excited when she realizes Bernard won. Yasmin says she knew it was him. She dreamed of this, seeing him come out in the suit. Yasmin seems like a lovely person. I want to be friends with Yasmin.
Maybe she's on Instagram.
Gilles then meets the candidates outside, and Charlotte says that they're all proud of Senna. He was afraid of getting the title of the mole with the highest spot ever. Bernard's used 3 bottles of bleach for his bath. And Coco, in a brilliant Dutch pun, says that between Kathy and Senna, it was a bad romance.
And this is even before they sang it on Cafe de Mol.
Yeah.
So that's how much that moment jumped out to them.
We see that no one suspected Gillian, who was too honest and sincere, and he went home thinking it was Stephanie, but she was the one who tied with him with, let's be honest, probably 0 out of 20 at that point.
Yeah.
Coco thought the mole opened the box and went all in on one person, which was Mikhail. Philippe suspected Lynn, as did Caroline, so she was put last. Caroline went home in another tie with Philippe, and I don't think Gilles said that it was a tie in episode 2.
No, I don't think so. 1 second.
Yeah. Coco went all in on Mikhail again in episode 3 and thought of the clue as well, and Mikhail this time returned the favour. Bernard began to smell a rat with Senna, thinking he and Coco were in the right place, but Senna relayed the information incorrectly. Philippe went home suspecting Lynn and Mikhail. Lynn was on the back foot in episode 4, having suspected Philippe before, but switched to Charlotte. Coco said Mikhail's name in the hacking challenge and went home suspecting him. Lynn would have gone home had she saved herself. In episode 5, Mikhail created a new system to figure out a new suspect, which was Stephanie. Bernard was more accurate and Senna was in his sights. And Charlotte and Stephanie were also suspicious of him, picking the Amsterdam trip over a pass frog, and both were on Lynn and Senna. Lynn's departure then sends Stephanie and Charlotte in the right direction, and Mikhail is also on the right track, but Stephanie goes home suspecting Mikhail and Senna. In episode 7, everyone's on Senna, and Charlotte has the best memory of the four of them. Mikhail had the lowest score in that test, but Charlotte was the one sent home. And Senna mentioned 4 numbers in episode 1, which were the coordinates of a Sicilian village called Finale. Another very irritating clue because we got distracted by another set of coordinates which flashed up on the screen, which was, of course, the paintball ones.
Yeah.
It would have been very interesting had Charlotte survived the episode 7 test. Because if Mikhail had gone home, it would have been the first time that he saw his screen, number 1. But number 2, I would have been all in on Senna at that point.
Yeah.
There would have been no doubt in my mind. It would have been Senna, then probably by default Bernard and Charlotte in that order. Frustrating.
Yeah, those final 4 rounds. There's always something create so many times, it's always a crazy outcome that just determines who wins the game.
It's a sliding doors moment. A lot of the executions this time were sliding doors moments because you would have been probably quite shocked if Stephanie had gone home in episode 1.
Yeah.
And then Mikhail should have gone home in episode 7 and didn't because of the pass Farragon. Yeah, it would have been very interesting to see what the suspicions would have been had both of those things happened. In the final test, Mikhail got 28 out of 30, which has been a winning score before, but Bernard got a perfect score, winning him the season and 24,160 euros. Charlotte says they all knew he was going to win, he was just too good. And in addition to buying his wife a new facade, he's donating money to a fund that helps Mikhail's daughter.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Obviously, when I saw that, I'm like, oh, wonder what happened with Mikhail's daughter. And the answer is sadly something quite sad. She, I think it was 16 years ago, she died at 8 months old of a degenerative condition.
Oh.
He mentioned it in another interview.
Hmm.
It was Tay-Sachs disease that she died of.
Oh.
Yeah, very sad. He seems really lovely. It's a shame we couldn't speak to him.
Yeah, other than just off to the corner there.
Other than him laughing at the name Papa Bear.
Yeah.
Which, for the record, is probably going to be one of my favourite finale moments ever. Is just you insisting on calling Gilles Papa Bear, and then Mikhail laughing off to the side, just being like, "Papa Bear, that's such a great name for him." And they end with a toast to Sicily and the Mole, and we also see a bit of Kinopolis, and then Senna apologizes to everyone, and we see that Pinocchio is also in the room and extends for the last time.
Awesome.
And that is the banner for this week's episode. Obviously, in a vacuum, it would have been Mikhail on the kid's toy getting thrown about. But no, it's got to be Senna for the reunion, I think.
Yeah.
So, final question of the season is, where would you rank Sicily?
I thought this season went seamlessly.
Yeah. I really enjoyed this season. It's below Vietnam for me. The orders now Germany, Arizona, Vietnam, Sicily, Greece, Argentina, South Africa, because they're a pair. Canary Islands, Mexico for me. But it's still a very, very, very good season.
Yeah, I like how just the generally agreed upon tier system is just to put Canary Islands and Mexico at the bottom.
Yeah. Most people put Canary Islands below Mexico, but I think actually Canary Islands I have a lot of sympathy for. And there was a lot of good stuff in Canary Islands that people are forgetting about.
I think with Canary Islands too, just because it was such a unique and bizarre season, while Mexico, I know production's going to hate when I say this, but just came off a bit more just like just another season of the Mole.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing that made it outstanding in any way, and Peter just, I think, is the worst Mole they probably had in the series. He just wasn't very charismatic, I think, where it's like, and very obvious.
Well, he wasn't obvious enough because you tried to dissuade me from him. But Mexico, for me, I think suffered from a not great boot order as well. A lot of the more out there characters went home very quickly, which then meant you had a more competitive final 4-5, but not necessarily a more interesting final 4-5.
Yeah, that was with, yeah, where you had Lloyd, Baja, and Peter in the finale there, where it just wasn't the most like outstanding trio to have there at the end. They didn't bounce like, because now we've had two all male final threes, so it's interesting to contrast the two as to why Mikhail, Sen, and Bernard worked so well as the final three together compared to Lloyd, Baja, and Peter. And I would say it's just that these three just bounce off of each other a lot better and are three very distinct people. While with Lloyd, Baja, and Peter just don't seem like three people who would, hang out together outside of the show, where they felt like they're being like really cordial with one another.
Yeah, and also Lloyd pushed down a lot of his more crazy tendencies because of how competitive he was. Because if you remember in the reunion, we see Peter's reaction to seeing Lloyd's application form and him dressed as Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah,
We didn't see the Little Red Riding Hood Lloyd
side of
in the
Lloyd.
season. Yeah.
It was, I'm going to win this season and make sure Peter can't sabotage version of Lloyd.
Yeah. Lloyd, as fun as he is and as interesting as he is, because we've obviously both met him, he wasn't as entertaining as you would expect Lloyd to be on paper because he was so laser focused on winning. And don't get me wrong, I'm well aware that people go into this sort of a show going, well, fuck the audience, I don't care, I want to win. Or I certainly would. But it didn't make for the best of television because Lloyd wasn't allowed to be the crazy Lloyd that you would anticipate him being from his application.
It was instead very smart and cunning Lloyd, who that side came out a lot more.
Yeah, and I'll also say we're not slagging Mexico off. Mexico is a solidly still like B plus season for me.
It's way better than NetMol.
It's better than basically every other Mole season that has aired since.
You have to put one. You have to put one season at the bottom.
Yeah, the problem is Mexico also aired right after Georgia did, which is certainly a contender for the best WIDM season. It's a rare year where WIDM actually outperformed België.
But anyways, back to the rankings. So, yeah, I was just thinking after, since Canary Islands, how we've had Arizona and now Sicily, just 2 seasons back to back. Holy hell!
Yeah,
2 home run seasons, I would say.
yeah, this is the best pair of seasons back to back, I would say, that België have done in terms of just sheer entertainment. I give Arizona the edge because I think Arizona's references were a lot more up our street.
I mean, it was in Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona was somewhere where I think I even said during the Oregon historians that I would have done a Wild West season somewhere like Arizona rather than Oregon. Arizona as a location is much more of a fun one for them to play with, I think. Italy as a country has been done on Mole a lot, so it's much more difficult for them to find a new angle for it. I really, really enjoyed it. It's an A-tier season for me, but I think I still give Germany, Arizona, Vietnam the edge, personally.
Yeah, and then for us, there's definitely that nostalgia factor with Vietnam too.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, I mean, even if Vietnam wasn't a good season, it would probably go up a few places just because that finale is something I will remember forever. Being honest, the sheer insanity of that day and night, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, even if Vietnam wasn't a good season, I still would love it for that. I mean, I have a soft spot for Colombia for much the same reasons. But yeah, Germany, Arizona, Vietnam, Sicily is my top 4 now.
Yeah, but yeah, ever since Canary Islands, it's just like they've really just locked into this. I don't want to say formula because it feels like they're just, that makes it sound like it's generic, which it isn't.
They've got their mojo back.
Yes, where they find a theme and then they come up with all of these ideas for the theme and just put it together in such a great way. And I don't know if I would say there were really any casting mistakes for Canary Islands, but just seems like that they also re-examined how they cast as well, including who they cast as the mole. I think there's definitely, I mean, after you go through an incident like that in Canary Islands, you realize, okay, who we pick as the mole has to be really, really thorough and really well thought out in terms of how the season is going to play out. And now we've had back-to-back moles that were really, really effective.
Something I've just thought of as you were talking there is I wonder how much COVID played into Philippe's mindset when he wasn't in a good place to become the mole, because maybe that was more the problem, is that on paper Philippe is the sort of person they would pick as a mole for Canary Islands, but COVID lockdowns and stuff really affected people in ways that, I mean, we still don't necessarily know. And I wonder whether that played into it. Is actually pre-COVID Philippe would have been a great choice. Post-COVID, maybe not so much.
Well, we had Leonard too, and that was like peak COVID, right? When Leonard was the mole.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of Canary Islands, would have filmed what, 18 months roughly after COVID lockdown started, ish.
I guess so. With back, I guess with the Germany season, it would have been more of a, oh, we'll get to do something really fun.
Yeah, Germany was like 5 or 6 months after COVID lockdown started.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, this is the first time all of us get to be out of the house. How awesome.
And also the fact that they had to film in Germany forced them to be a bit more creative. Not that they're not creative normally, but it forced them to think outside the box because they had to do something that was still big and adventurous, but in a much more nearby location.
Yeah, it's definitely something to ponder, but yeah, just these last two seasons though. Yeah, everything's just been a home run. It's been fun. It's been fun to commentate these last two.
I dread to think where they're going next year.
You think they have to get out of Europe again?
Yeah, you'd hope so, especially as I know Gilles said, "Oh no, we're going to focus more on the unlucky 13th rather than it being my 10th season." But it's a celebration. If it's your 10th season, Gilles, you have to go somewhere fun. I think not that Sicily's not fun, but I think you've got to look at going somewhere a bit more.
Unexpected?
Yeah,
Like I don't know, like Botswana. Have a Botswana season.
yeah, because on paper, country-wise, they've not been to a country that no other mole has since Greece.
Yeah, I guess so. Canary Islands, they've never filmed any
Yeah, but
mole there, but
that's
it's
that's
part
still
of Spain.
Spain.
Yeah,
Yeah, Sicily's part of Italy, Canary Islands is part of Spain, and Arizona's obviously part of the US. It's been a few years since they've gone to a unique country, and I wouldn't be surprised if we get a unique country out of it.
yeah. I was thinking, I would not be surprised if they go to somewhere in Asia next year.
Yeah, or maybe a Caribbean island, because they Caribbean islands they don't tend to do. But I'm thinking if you're going to focus on something like luck and unlucky 13th, maybe you play into that somehow.
Yes, that will definitely determine the location.
Voodoo, Mystique, and all that sort of stuff. I think
Haiti? They're going to film in Haiti?
maybe not Haiti because it's a bit violent, but somewhere with that sort of spiritual culture, I think could be very interesting for an unlucky 13th season. Personally,
We know one location it won't be Canada. It won't be Canada. They made that very clear at the reunion or at the finale.
it's the unluckiest place of all, having to film in Canada in November. We brought 10 unknown Flemish people to Churchill, Manitoba in November.
Well, let's see. We had Anka break her elbow, but now we have had a contestant have their elbow eaten by a polar bear.
So what was your season ranking? I kept interrupting there.
I had Arizona at the top. I completely forgot about that.
Recency bias.
Yeah. No. No, Sicily's at the top.
Yeah. As much as we obviously joked a lot last season about them pandering to us with the whole movie theme, it's very much the same cultural touch points, which is why we love Arizona so much. Is that a lot of their theming is very much the sort of thing that we look for in sneaky clues and stuff.
So I guess Sicily will be ranked third overall for me because I had Arizona at the top, South Africa second, and then I'll put Sicily in third, and then Germany, then Vietnam, then Argentina, then Canary Islands, and then I have Greece and Mexico in my bottom two.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think I may have had Greece second to last. Maybe I just wasn't feeling it at the time.
Yeah, Greece was difficult because we didn't have subtitles for most of it, if you remember.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, caused a lot of fun with the podcast because we kept having the correction section, but didn't necessarily allow us to enjoy the season as much as probably we could have done.
How would you? And I also had a ranking of the moles
I
themselves.
knew you were going to ask this.
Where would you? Of course, it's a mole podcast. Where would you rank Senna as a mole?
Senna, I think, is a very, very good mole. I don't have an official ranking of the moles because too many of them listen. I
Would
don't want to
Leonard?
rip.
Would Leonard always? Is Leonard still the top?
I think so because the rule, I think, is: would you expect Senna to have got away with a €10,000 bid on the Integrity Will Be Rewarded game? I don't think he would. I think Leonard was so unsuspected by everyone apart from me that he's the only one who could have got away with that in Belgium, I think. I was going to say maybe Comfort, but the lads were onto Comfort by like final 7, I think. Even the
Yeah.
Back to the Future thing didn't dissuade them from their Comfort suspicion. I don't think he can top Leonard, to be honest.
Yeah, maybe I could say I have Leonard and then Comfort and then Alina in my top three.
Yeah.
I think I might put. I'll have to. I mean, again, this just aired. Maybe put Senna above Alina.
Yeah, there's also a slight factor for us that we've met quite a few of these moles now.
That's true.
In terms of moles from the Belgium reboot, I think the only two we haven't met between us are Peter and Eileen, I think.
Wasn't Alina at the Vietnam finale?
I can't remember. We haven't met Alina, actually, have we?
We definitely haven't met Alina. No, I haven't spotted her. And yeah, yeah, we did not. We definitely didn't spot her at the finale.
Yeah. Maybe there's 3 moles we haven't met then, which would be Eileen, Alina, and Peter.
Yeah.
So we're sort of maybe a little bit biased in our interactions with these people as well, which does make it tougher to rank moles for Belgium for me. I found myself incredibly charmed with Comfort. I could see why they picked her straight away as soon as I spoke to her. Senna was lovely. Elizabeth was obviously lovely. We haven't met Uma, actually, have we? Thinking about it.
No, no, I don't think she was there. Yeah, she wasn't spotted anywhere.
It's tough for us to rank moles, I think, because we do actually have personal connections with quite a few of them now. With at least half of them, in hindsight.
Yeah, I'll put Senna below Leonard's and Comfort for now.
Yeah. It's a comforting place for him.
Yeah.
Have you got anything else you want to say about the season?
I think we covered it.
Good choice. So, thank you for listening to our Mol België Season 12 recaps all season long. We will see you very soon for more episodes. Don't forget you can contact us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram where we are RTV Warriors, or you can email us and contact at rtvwarriors.com. Logan is on the artist formerly known as Tristan Logswaki, and I am MJ Harmstone. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/rtvwarriors. Thank you to the Legion of Subtitlers. We will see you very soon.
Peace out and just chill till the next flavouring.
Whenever that will be. Oh yeah, we forgot to do historians, didn't we? That's a shame. Ah well, maybe next time. I hope you didn't think that we'd actually leave you without revealing historians, because Bindles is back now, because we recorded this last week. Hello.
Time travel.
Yeah, time travel indeed. You're not actually somewhere else in Australia. You're still at home at this point.
For about 20 minutes.
So, this year's Historians Clues were mostly themed all around one thing, which was doing the exact opposite of last year, and not sneaking the season past you, but merely not telling you anything about it at all. Progressively, over the weeks of both WIDM and België, we told you which seasons Historians isn't, beginning with the ones we've already covered, but then each week ruling out more and more seasons in the show notes, whether we actually mentioned them in the episode or not. And in fact, this was very much hidden in plain sight. When we began discussing that we'd started Historians recordings, it was phrased very deliberately when I said, I should note, emphasis on the note, we have begun recording Historians and we are telling you nothing. In addition to this, I've been sneaking song lyrics into België recordings this season. We're eating Bindles with G'day Champion in episode 1, How Are You Big Fella in episode 2, Hello Sunshine in episode 5, and Yeah, Alright Legend in episode 6, as well as saying that Michelle said, I literally can't in episode 4, the infamous gnocchi clip in episode 3 having me say the answer is to get a bit Australian, yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, that Josh was told to do it for exposure, they're not going to pay you at the Dutch Grand Prix in episode 7, and that's when Gilles asked, who am I laughing at in episode 8, my answer was, it's not you, it's me, to Saunders. Had you Googled all of these terms, you would see that they're quotes from the song Read Between the Lines by Australian comedian Tom Cardy, which features the refrain, it's not what's said, what's implied, read between the fucking lines. And that was also alluded to at the start of episode 3 when I talked about Pandora's Box, by saying that Gilles showed us what was left unsaid.
I did not notice any of those clues.
I know you didn't. And I told you about this before I was doing it as well, which is even
Yeah.
better. I will also say, having seen Fuzzy's bingo card for this week, you picked up on a lot of the right quotes, Fuzzy, but you didn't Google them. Because had you Googled the 4 of those introductions in quotation marks, the second listing is genuinely the lyrics to Read Between the Lines. You are this close to actually figuring out the correct clue there. The epilogue of episode 5 also contained our most blatant hint of the season, an emphasis on the word hint there, as we told you that D800 would help. But as with everything, it was very deliberately phrased, as if you look for hints and clues in episode D, otherwise known as episode 500, you would have found them, as we had a whole category about them. The 800-point clue was about the Arthur Conan Doyle short story, The Dog That Didn't Bark, used in Survivor circles to denote that you could deduce the winner of Survivor the Australian Outback by merely her lack of presence, something you could also do to work out which season we're covering on Historians. I also said in episode 5 that the dog son, and this is genuinely true, is a dog that doesn't bark as he whimpers. Episode 6 also set you up with me talking about how the Reddit post didn't understand the concept of an eye for an eye. In episode 7, we talked about how Sicily was the first Roman colony, and I, for one, can't believe we hadn't seen a challenge about it, with I being the Roman numeral for 1 and D being the Roman numeral for 500. What else did you do, Bindles, dare I ask?
Well, firstly, also the D800. Number 1, D800. Also, D800 is 16 letters long, which I'm surprised nobody noticed.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't notice it when I came up with that clue.
Yeah.
So as you might have guessed, with that first round of clues, we can officially announce that this year's WIDM Historians will be Dominican Republic. But as you may have guessed, there are some more ways to know this. And I'm sure the first reaction was, how can you do that when, it spoils who the mole is in episode 2? Oh, don't worry, we'll come to that.
Yeah.
Every single candidate in that season has been name-checked in this year's episodes. Obviously, we blatantly discussed Ropp and his podcast in episode 1 of VIDM, and Ellie Luce got a name check very early in VIDM as well. But Bindles has been very sneaky and snuck the other 8 in too. This is nasty, can I point out?
Yeah. During the Mario Kart challenge we were talking about Mikhail using his lips on the pipe. And we said, once Cecile, always Cecile. Sorry, always Cecile. We had when Senna stopped on the road, we mentioned the enemy car taking over, the Anamika taking over. We made a point of going back to talk about people airing their dirty laundry, Episode 6, we gave special credit to the subtitlers this season and mentioned there hadn't even been like a kerning area this season, Mayline kerning. We mentioned with the paintball challenge, as Snoop Dogg said, drop it like it's hot. As Snoop Dogg said, drop it like it's hot. We also mentioned sharing with the rest of the class Van Crouston. Michael mentioned Dustin Hoffman Tim Hoffman.
Yep, that was at the start of the Gilles list.
Yep, and in episode 8, we may have gone out of our way to make a joke about premonitions.
Yep.
You're welcome, everybody.
And I will also say our obsession with the sound of the police is also a clue, as it alludes to the frankly legendary Ellie Luce former job role, or, as we would put it, whoop whoop, that's the sound of Ellie Luce.
Whoop whoop, that's the sound of these are clues.
I'll also say on that subject, given that we're recording this 2 days after we went to the finale, every single time Logan and I heard a siren in Antwerp, we did quite loudly say, whoop whoop, that's the sound of Ellie Luce. and it made us both laugh every single time. In episode 5 of België, I also said that competent production teams don't accidentally reveal their mole early. I don't need to say any more on that particularly. We'll get to that. And in episode 6, we also discussed how another mystery season had done the second highest bid wins twist, but we couldn't remember which. Obviously, we could. We'd literally just recorded that episode. And the finale also had me talk about how Michael had said that they should memorize things in groups rather than lines, which works out so well when you have a memorization challenge, as we'll find out in the premiere. Our episode 5 banner for België also featured a nod to the location of historians, in that there was a Bible hidden in the Instagram post where it was displayed. And if you look at the Instagram banner post for episode 5, you will now see it is right at the bottom of it. I also, just to be a complete dick, in the middle of the finale stories, hid a picture of a Bible that I did genuinely take in the hotel. It's in the center of the season's banners, just as a Bible appears in the middle of the Dominican Republic flag, and it's the only one with a Bible on it in the world. Bindles also referenced Tim Hoffman by saying they released The Asylum in week 3 of België, and mentioned the Anita Maya song that they used in Czechia, which also featured in Dominican Republic in episode 6. And there's one final one from the finale, I think, that you did, Bindles.
So there's two final ones. So in the finale, I mentioned we couldn't make a 1-for-1 comparison with WIDM and Belgium, except you kind of can, because 1-for-1 is the page on the challenge guide that I wrote where the Dominican Republic notes start. You're welcome, everybody. And, obviously a lot of these clues, because we're a podcast, a lot of these clues are audio-based. So I made sure to put a picture clue in as well. Fuzzy, you know how you were trying hard to work out what season it was and, looking for clues everywhere? You should have looked at the bingo boards. Because episode 6, the 2 pictures, that was the week with the knife fight challenge. The 2 pictures I used were basically 2 80s film stars. One you want with you in a knife fight and one you don't. The one you want in a knife fight was very obviously that's not a knife, this is a knife scene from Crocodile Dundee. The one you don't want from a knife fight was the clue, because it's Molly Ringwald, or Molly Ringwald. And that is a shot from 16 Candles. She's going to hate us so much for this.
The best thing about this whole thing is that Saunders hasn't spoken at all. He's just giggling in the background because we haven't told him any of these clues.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know any of these Ellie clues.
Whoop whoop, that's the sound of Ellie clues.
Whoop whoop, whoop whoop.
So I am actually going to sign off this season now by saying thank you for listening all season long. We will see you at some point later in the year for WIDM Historians in Dominican Republic. Goodbye.
Peace out and just chill till the next season.
How are we going to top this next season?
We're not. This is it.
Oh, like Michael Jackson.
He says just like he said last year, and then somehow managed to make it more ridiculous this year.
Yeah.
Anyway, bye.
Bye.
So it's present day Michael and Logan again. We did forget to do some clues last week, so here they are. Bindles talks about the clues starting to come together in episode 7. Come together, of course, being the Eurovision subtitle for 2016. He also forgot to mention that he did name check Tarka twice, because he's Taka Takama, aka Double Tarka, in episode 7, when he said the producers of this show are Starker raving mad, but they're not that Starker raving mad. And on his travels last week in Cockatoo Island, Bindles also tweeted a picture from the audio guide that he was listening to with the caption, maybe if I'd sprung for the audio tour, I wouldn't have gotten lost on Cockatoo Island. I only saw 10, 11, and 14 before this, and not in that order. And that was a very sneaky clue, even by Bindles' standards. And now to the bingo card. Fuzzy's bingo card. On Fuzzy's bingo card, she thinks the following are clues. The Simpsons movie, Can't Complain, How About You, Dan in Real Life, Premonition, Resurrecting the Champ, Big Fellas, Sunshine, I Am Legend, Halloween, Rush Hour 3, Honk Honk, The Last Legion, Legion of Subtitlers, War, absolutely nothing, Dead Silence, Hot Fuzzy, tenuous one that, Saw, a 7-movie series, Once a Seal, Always a Seal, 7-book series, Harry Potter, a 7-book series, Gilmore Girls, a 7-season series, a Discord exclusive hint, Happy Groundhog Day. The first episode to mention it this year was released on February 7th. Happy Groundhog Day mentioned on 7 separate episodes. Tuck It, as in Phuket. D800, meaning date 007. And She thinks all the clues are movies as our theme this year, and she thinks historians is Thailand. And all I have to say is Fuzzy is wrong. Fuzzy is so wrong. I mean, the clues were that we were telling you nothing this year. Sorry, Fuzzy. One final thing from me as well is that Fuzzy did spot on our website that Dominican Republic had a listing. That was not a clue. That was just...
You being messing up.
It wasn't a fuck up. I did those listings ages ago. It was not intended on being a clue, but hilariously, it's ended up accidentally becoming a clue. Go see. Anyway, we'll see you for Dominican Republic. Bye.
Peace out and just chill till the next flavoring.